When the plan is clear, there's no distractions.
Yeah.
Like, we just know where we're going.
Yeah.
We know what we need to achieve. We know what we want to achieve, and we know what we need from the people to achieve that. And if there's people that don't want to go on that path, that's actually okay. There's still places in the business for those people. There's a lot of people that say, I just want to do 30 transactions a year. I only want to sell 30 properties. I'm like, no problem. Let's help you do that really well. So Alex, thanks so much for joining me on the couch today. We might call this on the couch potentially at some point. So talk to us about, your journey in real estate, you getting into it, roughly when you started, what did that look like, and the business that you grew?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Yeah, look, how I got into it, my background being consumer electronics, multinational corporate, a lot of international travel. So having a small family at that stage, young kids, I wanted to do something more local, to spend more time with them and give up the travel. Always had an interest in real estate. However, was looking to do something different. Melody and I, we're local to that northwest area. So we were looking at investment opportunities, and it just so happened we went into property development. And at that stage, doing property development, that led to real estate when I was interviewing agents to actually sell the land that we had subdivided. And being a sales guy, because my background is sales and marketing, I wasn't very impressed at all with the local agents.
Yep.
So I thought, look, maybe I can do this a little bit better. And just got my license and then set up elite property agents.
Yep.
And with the intent, because I'll sell my own properties.
Yep.
And when I was selling those, we thought, well, we'll do a little bit of advertising. And then it just organically grew with people contacting us, wanting to know, getting us in for a listing presentation. So that's where it rolled from. So then we started to only do sales. We were a home-based business. And then it started to grow with vendors asking for rental properties to look after rental properties. And when that started to grow, we just couldn't sustain being at home, having trades guys and So then we decided to go into an office location in Castle Hill. A franchise, Rain and Horn, approached us and said they wanted us to come on board, and we had some synergies with Rain and Horn. So we said okay, and we jumped in that, and then the rent roll's grown from there, and then we've done the 10, 15 years, and it seems to be in my previous role, it was 15 years.
Yeah.
So it seems to be 15 years, and then I go for a change.
Yeah, okay.
So for the sort of last 2 years, we've also had some other changes, and we thought, we're gonna head out of the industry and try something new. So 2 years ago, it started to engage, as you know, Wayne from Real Estate Dynamics, giving him a brief of what we were looking for, because the business was like another child to us.
Yep.
We'd grown it from the start. I'm sure you know about it. You nurture it. And it did take a while to say, okay, we're going to pass this on. So we were obviously very top of mind, looking for someone that could continue to grow the business, look after the clients, because we do know them, but also have a synergy with our work ethic and our values as well. So, and that's where you popped on the radar for us. So we saw some really, really good synergies in what you were doing. Obviously, we saw over time signboards popping up, in our area, Saliba popping up here and there, especially when we passed through here, this area. So we already knew you, and obviously looking at the new guy that's going to town, and seeing that you're growing quite fast as well.
Yep.
So we already sort of knew you. Then did a bit more of a deeper dive into when we knew that you were interested in it, and looked at obviously your website. We did have a few crossover clients and that had mentioned you, and they didn't have anything bad to say. Usually in this industry, people will point out if an agent does something wrong, they're going to tell you about it. But no, nothing like that. So, and then obviously the information we got from our broker, and then in meeting you, we saw that, straight away that the fit scene, there was no egos. It was about really pushing the boundaries and positive energy, and you growing your business, and seeing the value in ours as well, and appreciating what we had done.
Because that's a big decision, and making a decision to sell a business is a big one, especially one that you've had for a long time. You've built it from the ground up, put a lot of effort into it. It's a family-run business. You know, yourself, you know, your wife Melody, who's now in the business, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you know, that whole process of building that up, those landlords that you had personal relationships with, you really wanted to make sure that went to a really good company. So this wasn't just about saying, well, we just want to get as much money as we can because we want to get out of this thing. We had to consider the fact that, you know, Melody was still staying in the business and wanted to roll the next place that she went to, and then also your sort of transition before you go into the next thing, which is the reason why you got out of the industry, being able to still list and sell sort of during that period, right? So there's a lot to consider.
Yeah, definitely, and we did go through that from when we, you know, first discussed, you know, 2 years ago, how we're going to exit the industry, and knowing that we had sales as well from clients that were coming in because we had forecasted that far in advance, and how was that going to work, and especially we thought, okay, well, once it happens, we really have to, you know, belong to that business and fly there and believe in what they're doing as well. And that's where the transition has been great for Melody and I. Obviously a much bigger team, going from, you know, a smaller team, you know, having that extra backup, the support network, really the administration support reaching out to me and what can we do to help you, especially with the sales, what can we do to help you to get the sales over the line, and taking all of that work, which I used to do, all of that, being smaller. And same with Melody, what she shared, that the greater team is there to support her, so she can really get on to what she is good at. Previous to that, she was doing, as you know,
bit of everything, really,
doing everything, and doing it all quite well. But again, it's a different dynamic when you're going from a vendor, a landlord, to a supplier, you know, getting insurance quotes, then talking to, you know, Rain and Horn head office. So really, which is great experience, but you don't really get to hone in on your expertise and refine that. So her coming across here is obviously being able to manage the portfolio in the transition period, and now taking on some new landlords as well, and supporting your team as well and showing her experience that she's had. So the fit's been quite good from that side of it, but the culture as well, I think. So again, there's a lot of egos in real estate, and especially, you know, your competitors and who we had interviewed that were interested in our business, but the egos probably where we were going to transition as well into the business, that could have impacted the transition as well. Because Melody staying in the business, you know, that was a big decision for us. So, and as I said, we would never know. It was a bit of we had the conversation about, hey, we think everything's good. We think we're going to be good together, but you never know once you sort of start the ball rolling. But I think it's worked quite well.
Yeah, because I mean, if you take it back to that one meeting that we had at your office, we all sat down, and like Wayne was there, you were there, Melody was there, we had Abby from our team, which was there, and that was an important person for me to have there because, you know, I'm the business owner, but I'm not running everything. You know, I really rely on Abby to run that sort of PM side of the business. So that was important to Melody. And then, you know, whilst we were interviewing you to make sure that your business was a good fit for us, because we were bringing on all the landlords, we were having all that conversation, you were also doing the interview to us as well. And so it was that really interesting conversation, the same research that I did around, you know, your reviews, the track record, you know, people that have previously dealt with your company, all that sort of stuff. And then what then you had to do with us was very similar, right?
Yeah, exactly. And for us, it was about obviously, you know, having those landlords, and we've had them for quite some time. How are they going to react to us selling our business, having someone else look after it, and if that fit wasn't right, then all of a sudden the business can be devalued.
Correct.
So that was very important to us to see that the person who buys the business actually understands what we need to happen. And again, with being in that larger franchise, we had had exposure to other business owners who had bought and sold, and there were some really disaster stories as well.
Yep.
Not only once it transitions, but pre-transitioning, which affects the actual sale of how many landlords come across. So, as I said, and I think that's where we were most confident with you over some of the others. Some of the others didn't just get exactly obviously they were experts in what they do, but they didn't get what we were about and what we had done and what we were trying to achieve, which was important.
It was a little bit complex at times as well, because it wasn't just like, okay, let's bring the landlords over. It was for us as well, okay, how do we cater for Melody and what she's trying to achieve as a great property manager, but a property manager of a business where she ran a lot of stuff. So for her, control was important. There's nothing wrong with that. We're okay with that. But then her and us trying to understand how we transition her into the business, the way that our systems are, the way that our processes are set up. So that was a transition for us just as much it was for her. Talk to us about the experience that maybe Melody has had moving from trying to, control everything and do all that to now coming into the business, and maybe what she said to you after, first few days, first few months, and where she is today.
Yeah. And again, being business owners by default, you become a bit of a control freak. You want to know what's happening. And I think in the first few weeks that was still there. Hard to let go. It's sort of like, sending your kid off to kindy for the first time, watching them go. You're at the gate still.
That's right.
But then understanding, well, hang on, this is actually going to make my life easier. I can have more time to do other things in the role. And, that's not what's required of me in this role. But again, I think that, look, as a partners come home and talk about their employer all the time. And for us, Melody hasn't said anything bad. She hasn't said,
not that you'd tell me here anyway. So.
I mean, I'm an open book. I sort of, not that I'd, portray Melody's confidence, in that respect, but, she does, she would say, Melody's an open book. You can tell on her face. You get it, you probably saw that from when you came in to interview us. We sort of share things, and if there's something bothering either one of us, if we're not happy, you'll pick it up. But she's, quite happy with the transition. As I said, the big thing for her is obviously where she was working Saturdays, and now that's been taken away. Having that, separation of property management and leasing, is really good. So that's given her more time from a lifestyle point of view, but also, well-being, which is very important. Her well-being is probably enhanced by coming across, because of having the business and being in it and across. She's happier in that role. She still has that ownership over her
landlords, absolutely. And you can see that in her, right? And that's been the greatest thing for me personally to see, to be able to onboard a fellow business owner that felt like she needed to have all of the control, to now for her to be like, okay, I don't actually need control of that component because I know that's being handled really well by someone else. So let me get some more time back for myself. Some small days off here, annual leave, you got kids stuff that's going on, graduations, all that stuff. So she has the flexibility to do that. But then also for her to put her hand up and say, look, I'm, really enjoying it. Yeah, give me a few more listings, give me a few more managements to actually take over, and you can see what she's doing in that space. But then even going one step further to say, hey, and how do I take that sort of leadership position? We've got some other people in the business that need that sort of level of guidance. And so to not just see her come in and say, oh, I'm not just going to do a property management role. I'm actually going to say, well, who else actually needs some help here and really provide value when I'm here? But then say, look, I'm going to go home. I get to cut off now and I don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah, and I think that what I've seen and what Melody has seen and we've talked about is obviously your strategy long term, and the people who want to come with you, you'll take them. You know, it's not all about Josh and, you know, making his money and then going. It's, you know, other people as well to grow them. Uh, and I think that's important for Melody as well. She does like real estate.
Yep.
She likes the industry. And for her, because she's got so much experience, that where she can add value to, you know, lead a team or something, then that's where I think, you know, she would be good. And again, that's where we first talked, because of the size of your team and the growth plans that you've got. There's obviously, if it's the right person and they've got the right attitude, then
It's opportunity there, right?
exactly. Yeah. So, and I think that is, you know, very, very important, because Melody's background being corporate as well, having that processes in place, that, you know, your reviews, you know, employee review, KPIs and all of that, where you obviously have that here, what she's shared with me, you know, I think it's every 6 to 10
weeks,
yeah,
6
week
weeks
meetings to, you know, which is, you know, as I said, from a employee to know that their employer is actually interested in doing that for them. Generally in smaller businesses, and from what I've talked to a lot of real estate, it gets missed in the real estate industry.
Well, the business owner's so busy just, you know, listing and selling typically, or just
Yeah.
being a business owner trying to keep the business afloat. But
That's right.
I think for us, where I can take a lot of credit in this is we've built a great management team. Like, I don't need 5 managers in the business, you know, and not everyone has the title of manager, but we've given them an opportunity to lead a team, manage a bunch of people. And then we've all put that framework together as a leadership team to say, well, let's meet with our team members every 6 weeks. Let's sort of look at where they're at on a KPI perspective. That's important, right? You need to hit your KPIs. That's right.
Yeah.
To have your job, you got to hit your KPIs.
Yeah.
And so long as you're having a good crack, even if you're not meeting them all the time, but you're having a good go and you're learning from mistakes, we're fine with that. But then sitting down with that individual to say, okay, well, we nailed these goals. These are the personal goals you set. These are the business goals you've set. What does the next 3 months look like? What's the next 12 months look like for you? And we've done that within the business. And I sent you one of those forms, and I know that wasn't in line with, you know, what you'd usually done in the past, which is fine. I appreciate that. But again, still keeping you involved in that. But then saying, okay, well, what are your strengths at the moment? Like, how do we help you? And making sure that not just Melody, but everyone in the business is kept involved in that.
Yeah, and obviously for me, you know, doing open homes with some of the sales team, talking on the phone to your sales guys, I think that, and sharing with them, you know, there's some younger guys that were there, and what have said, look, to me, you've got to pick the right sort of agency to be at. And as I said, if some agencies, they just won't be seen there, they won't be heard, they won't get the opportunity. Where, as I said, where I see it is these guys are given if they're hungry for it and the right attitude, it looks like you'll give them a go.
Yep.
And then if it's, you know, if they keep performing, then great. I mean, this is a sales business, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, but and I've noticed, you know, the different training that they get as well. So I'm in training today, which is really, really good. And again, investing in your people, where there should be, and it's obviously a win-win.
Yep.
But as I said, from what I saw in the industry and being part of a big franchise group and meeting up with them, it's not always the case. As you said, you know, there's all reasons why the business owner is just too busy. They won't invest in their people. They won't invest in the time because they're running a business.
Yeah, or the business owner wants to take all the accolades and say, like, I'm the listing agent. No, I'm going to get all the leads off the back of that, and I want my name first on the signboards and all that sort of stuff. And
Yep.
you've seen that in this business now. It's nothing to do with that. If anything, I don't want to take all of them. There's so much to go around for everyone. And how we've supported you on that sort of transition as well, right? Because you were so used to being the only one on the signboard, the only one doing all the work. And then I remember as the first listing that you're bringing on in Castle Hill with us, and you're like, oh, so, I can just do all this sort of stuff. I said, you don't have to do all that, Alex. I said, I'll have Rajul there at the open homes with you. He'll take the names and numbers. The negotiation, I know the control part of you is still there, and that's good because you're good at negotiation. We don't want to take that away from you. But let us handle the callbacks. So talk to us about what that transition was like, because we know that you're not intending to stay in sales, but your new thing isn't ready for you to go to yet. So we've allowed the opportunity for that transition period, which is a smart move for us as a business because you've still got plenty of leads that you're still working on. So talk to us about that transition, how it worked, the help that you've got, administrational support. Trudy's been a big part of that.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, for me, I'm a little bit of a control freak anyway. I like to be over everything. And for me, it was more so, I'm going to run with these guys and see how it goes. And obviously, if something jumped up, I'd jump on the phone to you and say, I've got to step back in, which hasn't happened. As I said, the support team, flicking it across, they'll come through and say, okay, here's the signboard done. Just, are you happy with it?
Yep.
Which it saves you time. And I can see from where the previous business I had was always time to prospect for new leads. So if I was moving forward into selling real estate, I can see I'd have so much more time to generate more in the funnel than what I had before. By letting things go, by having the support team there, and then, chasing new business, I can see how that would be something that I would have so much more time to do. But yeah, I mean, as I said, it's been quite good. As I said, your team is pretty good. They know what they're doing. The administration support, they know what a selling agent needs, which was probably the bigger fear for me was, are they going to know what exactly needs to be done?
When it needs to be done, the deadlines, the order that it needs to go in. Because, you're exposing your new client, your potential seller, to a totally brand new business and a brand new system and platform that you've never used before. So you're a control freak, which is fine because I am as well. But then you had to relinquish all of that control to another business. And you did a phenomenal job of that, of letting go of all of those systems and processes, and to allow, VAs in the Philippines to have those conversations, because that would have been a little bit sort of weird for you at the start.
Yeah, it was. It was. And I thought, well, I dealt with, in my previous life, we had offshore people that we were dealing with. So I thought, if it's, my feeling from your business was you've sort of set it up quite right, and obviously you've got a bit of attention to detail as well.
Just a little bit.
So yeah, I thought, well, if you've engaged someone, my expectation is probably, if it's going to make you happy, then I'm pretty sure that it'll be okay.
Good.
And and that was going back, when we interviewed, gaining confidence in this is the right move for us to make. So I thought, well, my expectation was that it should be. I thought it's a bit strange, for me to, go back to these guys and how much will they know? But yeah, they know everything. They jump on it. They're timely. I've got good communication with them. I've talked to them on the phone. They give me a call. So, one settled on Friday, on the phone and on the email. And they're quite very, very fast in terms of responding. And for me, the reason why I've been a bit of a control freak, because I think if I jump in, it's so much quicker because I just
get it done.
Yeah. But I found that your team's quite responsive and quite fast. Whether it's locally here with Trudy, jump on the phone, she'll ring back, straight away. We would get things done quite fast, which, as I said, some things can sit for hours and days. So, which is frustrating for a salesperson, because when a deal is happening, they just they've got it.
You want to get it done.
They've got to act on it and get it done and then move on. And as I said, I found that, the response time is very good. The knowledge is good. They know what I'm looking for, or what needs to happen. It's not an education process for me to say, look, this is it. They know once like for selling, for example, the contracts when they've been exchanged, once it comes out of cooling off, they're onto it. They put the cooling off invitations in there.
Yeah.
Then they send out the email straight away to buy the purchaser and the vendor, congratulating them, sending the next steps to them. So it's good. It's refreshing to see that come through and you go, yeah, okay, that's done.
And you got to think, people that are in a totally different country that have no real estate experience whatsoever, for them to be able to take that on, and there's not taking any credit away from them whatsoever. Like, they're phenomenal at what they do, but I absolutely know as us as a business to provide that process and that workflow to them with dialogues and images and photos for them to understand quite clearly, to say, well, this needs to happen before that happens, has obviously given us as a business a lot of confidence. But then bringing on people like yourself, even not just other business owners, but even just salespeople in general, for them to be able to come in and know nothing about real estate whatsoever, but then have that really good support network from day one, even if you're a fresh sales agent, to be able to rely on some people like that.
Yeah, and I think I see that's a huge benefit for a salesperson coming into a business, that they're not just thrown out there to do everything and cover all of the role, and then get questioned, well, why aren't they prospecting when they're bogged down with all the administration duties? And a salesperson should be there in front of people all the time. They shouldn't be doing the admin side of it. So I think I've seen that's a huge benefit in your business, for a salesperson to come in, and I've seen it in Melody, that there is that support network to things in her job. There's someone to do it. So it looks like you've got the right team, all the bases covered, and the people who, if you're a salesperson, then focus on selling, focus on a buyer and a vendor, and generating more leads. And as I said, it seems it's quite a smooth process. I mean, I've had obviously, being with Rain and Horn, different systems, but again, and they had quite good systems as well, and you could imagine that, being such a big franchise, that they also had really good streamlined things to go through. A lot of resources there, where coming to some independents, they sort of lack that. That's why they go to a franchise. And I can say from my experience, starting off as an independent from scratch, then going to a larger franchise for 10 years, and then coming into your business, you've got as good, if not better, than, the big franchises. Which is something good for you. And as I said, it's not the case for all businesses that I see out there. But when we were looking at your I think you did some podcasts before about your growth plans, the 9-year and this, and again, sharing that out loud. A lot of people don't want to share that out loud, because then people will say, "Did you do that? Did you get there?" And it's not about that. It's about having a plan in place and trying to get somewhere. You might miss it, you might overshoot it, but if you don't have it to start with, you're never going to get there. So I think that, which is impressed me is, the strategy behind it that you put in place, that it's not just a small little business, the growth plans to go, and make sure that you're doing it better than the rest out there.
Well, when the plan is clear, there's no distractions. Like, we just know where we're going. We know what we need to achieve. We know what we want to achieve, and we know what we need from the people to achieve that. And if there's people that don't want to go on that path, that's actually okay. There's still places in the business for those people. There's a lot of people that say, I just want to do 30 transactions a year. I only want to sell 30 properties. I'm like, no problem. Let's help you do that really well. But how much time off do you want to have? What do you want to be worth? And all those things are perfectly fine. So I think whilst we have a very strategic plan and a vision and a direction in the way that we want to go in, that's why these catch-ups, these 6 weeks meetings are so important, because people change their plan. There's things that change in people's lives. They're like, I said that 6 weeks ago, but I actually don't want to do that anymore. No problem. There's nothing wrong with that. It's more about us understanding very clearly, what does that person want to achieve? Very similar to yourself and Melody. When we sat down, when Abby and I spoke, we're like, what do these two people want to achieve out of this transition? You know, what do we agree on? What do we don't agree on? What is it they actually want to get out of this? And we knew very well that you wanted a nice transition into that next stage of life that you're going into. Some listing and selling in between, not a problem. Let's help you do that. And then with Melody coming into a nice space that she can enjoy working from. Because again, very big change for her. Small business doing everything into a bigger business, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that was important to us, as I said, where we've, you know, people really are very important. They make the business. And that was, again, from that beginning when we were interviewing some people who were interested in our business. You know, the fit wasn't 100% there, and we thought this is actually going to make our job harder in the transition, and that's not what we want. So we were looking for someone that, number one, had experience in transitioning a business before, so they knew, which obviously you had. So that was important to us. But as I said before, and I think, you know, you understanding us, which is like, you know, us sharing what we want. It's just like the employee, your guys, your employees, you know, they share what they want. If it changes, you know, you accommodate, you move with them. So that's the feeling that we got, that you were going to work with us, and probably also that we got a lot of confidence that you wanted that transition to be as successful as us. You didn't want to lose one and say, okay, well, it doesn't bother me. After, you know, you wanted to keep all of them.
Absolutely.
So, which that was important, and we've done a good job with that. You know, Melody and working with you guys in there has worked. You know, with with the landlords, she's had constant communication with them. I know Abby's been in contact with them. I know you've been in contact with them. I haven't talked to any of them, but you know,
But that's probably also a good sign as well, right? Because if they had to call you and say, Matt, like, what have you done here? Who have you sold to? And again, us making a conscious decision to say, as soon as the landlords were on board and it all settled, I'm jumping on the phone, call every landlord one by one, thanking them for the opportunity to work with them, making sure that they know that I'm there. Because I knew that you had already done that when you'd been dealing with them for the last 10 odd years. And there's a lot of landlords there that have been with you for a very long time. So I realize the expectation of those landlords, whether there was going to be done just as good as you were doing it, if not better. And so if I didn't make contact, if Melody wasn't there, if Abby wasn't available, if there was an issue with changeover of bank account details and all the little stuff that goes wrong, it would have been a recipe for the disaster. Yeah. And it's especially the first month's probably critical, because, you know, most people don't like change. So when prior to, you know, the transition, talking to each landlord, you know, some of them were, because of they're in their comfort zone with us. But we were transparent in saying, well, how is the transition going to work? Melody was going to be part of it. You know, we're fitting into the team. I was still going across to finalise some sales. We actually, you know, believe in Saliba, who are going to look after you as good as we were, and add more value than what we could from the selling side of it, having a bigger sales team, because it was all reliant on me and, you know, one other person. That's where to our landlord, that you're going to get the same service, you're going to have more resources, more people there over your property, but when it does come time to sell, there's a big sales team there. So, you know, and I think that also, you know, was why we picked you guys as well, because how can our landlords see what we see and jump aboard and say, yeah, well, I'm comfortable because, I can see why they made that decision in these people. And as I said, you know, your team, the size of the team, the size of your business, and I think that gave the landlords comfort. And then after the first month getting the phone calls, they actually thought, well, these
people care about me as well.
Absolutely.
You know, so
It was a nice transition. I mean, we did, video with Melody downstairs and sort of made that introduction to the landlords. Melody wasn't part of the team just yet, but we sort of brought her in. We did that video, sent it out to the landlords, give them a lot of comfort to say, okay, well, Melody's joining the business. She's going to be a part of this. This is not just this other company taking over and doing whatever they want with it. There's a bit of pride here, right? There's a bit of making sure there's respect for the business that we've just bought out and the efforts that they've put in. And that's genuinely how I looked at it. I'm like, Alex and Melody have worked really hard at this. If that's me in 20, 30, 40 years, I want to look back and say, well, I've sold it to a good person that's actually going to look after the landlords.
Yeah, and I think that one of the big things was the day-to-day running, Melody being involved in that. But then when they go to lease back to market, where Melody was taking the step back and your team was taking over. And from what I can, hear from Melody is the landlords are happy with their experience from leasing. It's quick, so they're getting the same attention. So that's great from a transition side of it. And we believe that we were giving, very, very good service. So that was our concern. Is someone going to give the same or higher? Are they going to be able to do that? Because if the service drops down, that's when we start to lose landlords. But we're confident that that isn't the case. You guys are doing a great job with them. I don't think, they're going to move anywhere. It's giving them confidence to say, yeah, okay, it's great. They found a really good agency that I'm comfortable with.
Yep, and that's the legacy that you needed to leave behind as well, right? Because the landlords and even just people in the general marketplace, when you've done all this hard work to go and sell it to someone else that wasn't going to look after it is a bad representation of yourself. And the 10 years and 15 or however many years you've been doing it, it's not a good look on you. So
no,
it was a smart decision by you as well.
I agree. And we didn't want. And it wasn't the case that we were just trying to do a money grab and dump it and get the cash and run. We were, we'd done the time, and now it was a change for me, really, to move on. As I said, Melody was, we looked at, do we keep the business and, expand it with Melody, but where she was in her life to have that responsibility, she didn't want that, and I didn't want that. So, and it was important that, the landlords saw it like they've been strategic in selecting who the business goes to. And because for our integrity to say, well, they just didn't dump us and leave us. Absolutely. They actually stayed in it. And I think now they understand that, these guys actually fit the same. We're happy with them. Because when we were picking up these landlords, all the time it was about, is the fit there with the agent and the landlord? Correct, yep. That was the big one, and we used to knock back business to say, well, we just don't fit with this particular landlord. So now that all these landlords fit with us and comfortable, we've got to make sure that fits to the next person. Yeah, because it could be disastrous. Absolutely. And as I said, look, I couldn't be happier with the transition. I think it's done. I think it's gone really, really smoothly. As I said, landlords haven't, and I had close contact with the landlords as well. They would pick up the phone, and if they couldn't get Melody, they'd jump on the phone to me. I haven't had the phone calls, so it tells me that things haven't gone out of control. Melody's on top of it. She's given up a lot of things like the payment runs and the leasing and all of this, and those sides are critical. The leasing. And the payment runs. That's everything. Very big. Landlords really, really look at this. Absolutely. So if that falls off, that's when I would get calls. If I didn't get my pay, where's my money to come in? I don't know what's happening with my property. Where's my statement? Or my property's been on the market too long. They were all where a landlord gets agitated. And that's when they would have picked up the phone to me if that had happened. And it hasn't happened. No. So... Look, I can confidently say it's absolutely been a team effort. Doesn't matter how good
that we are or were in that transaction, there's no way that this wouldn't have gone the way it did if Melody didn't do what she did. You've done what you've done. You've trusted us. You know, we've trusted you. So I can only thank you for allowing the opportunity first for us to work together in the transaction of the, you know, the business purchase or the company purchase. But secondly to that, coming on board, working together with us and, you know, helping us with that transition, because, you know, through what Melody has done with the landlords, through to her now talking about, you know, taking her career further and what does that look like, and then the ability to support someone like yourself in saying, well, I'd love to do a few sales here and there, I want to keep my feet wet before I get off to the next thing. So again, I can only thank you for, you know, the value that you've provided.
Yeah, no, I as I said, I appreciate, you know, you helping me through that transition. And yeah, I mean, because I've been in it, I've got those leads, and as I said, it's something that Melody and I talk about. You know, I don't want to say to, you know, vendors, well, I'm not in the industry anymore, sorry.
Can't help you anymore.
Can't help you, you've got to go. And then you know, I can actually confidently go and say, look, I've got a good agent that we transition to, you know, give Josh a call. You're going to be happy with them. And these can come 2 years after, as you know, because
absolutely
the way that you build up your list of contacts, and then they come back to you, you know, 2 years later, and as I said, I'm referring business. You know that you got to be confident if you refer a client that you've actually worked with before, and you're not going to refer that to someone that you know is going to make you look bad.
It's your reputation.
I'm happy. And also I'm happy to, you know, as I said, because I would, you know, you're easy to get in touch with to explain, okay, you know, can you do this? You know, please look after these people, and you're in touch with all of that as well. So I think that's because of the amount of ownership that you've got, not because you're the owner, but just to succeed and to, you know,
just do the right thing. Keep building a successful business, which is exactly the same thing that you did. And I think that's why both businesses resonated so well with each other. Whilst you were finishing up one business, we're not just starting off, we've been doing it for a while, but we're still not even anywhere near where we want to. So it's really taking the legacy that you built and like grabbing onto that and say, like, we respect that, let's keep that there, but let's actually improve it and take it further. Improve it not because you didn't do the right things, but because market changes, the way that you do things change. And taking it from what was a small, amazing, phenomenal business, really well run, to a larger business that gets to service more people, but do it at the same level of standard and of service. That's a really important thing for us. We want to keep that standard there, and that's why at times we are overstaffed. That's why we also dedicate so much time into training people, because we want to make sure we keep that service standard really high. Yeah, and as I said, that's something that we've been impressed with, and as I said, it's the good thing is you've got the plans in place. You know, as you said, plans change, but if the plan looked good at the beginning and you stick to the plan, stay with it. Stay with it. Time, it gets hard. This industry, it's a very competitive industry, as you would know. It's a tough industry to be in, and sometimes you can second guess yourself. But if you stick to the plan and believe in what you've got to offer, then consistency pays off. You know, word of mouth gets around and people start taking notice. So as I said, I think that you're doing a great job there, and we're happy with that. As I said, when we were doing those investigations, going back on that is, you know, one of the things, you're doing what you say you're going to do. Yeah, love that. Integrity, which is our second value. Comes into it. And you know, people say it all the time. Oh, you know, but people don't do it. That's right. They don't take it serious. They go, hang on, what did we say we were going to do? You know, and it seems so easy that, you know, people will go, oh, you know, really, thanks for that. You said you're going to do it and you did it. So, well, I said it. So, well, that's why you just don't say anything that you're not going to do. It's a pretty simple philosophy. If you can't do it, don't do it. Love that. So, no, it's great. No, as I said, appreciate all the help in the transaction that we had, and, you know, we'll keep flying it through to you. There's plenty more to come. Appreciate you joining us on the couch. Thanks so much for sharing your story. Thank you very much. Thanks, Cheers. Josh.